All right. Good morning, superstars. Appreciate you all jumping on the call. And thank you again as we press hard January. If you were on the producer's mindset, I believe it was on Wednesday, man. It was a nonstop action-packed conversation and the importance of what we do. So I'd like to introduce you one of our fellow commercial phenomena, rock stars, agent Ryan Rembert. He is part of the KW commercial, partner with Mason, and he's just an all-around awesome guy. So Ryan, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. Grateful to be on the call here with everybody.
Awesome, awesome. Well, let's dive deep into the conversation. So tell me, when did you start real estate? Let's go there.
So I got started in real estate shortly after high school. I kind of just had an inclination. This was kind of the direction I wanted to go. So ended up getting my license when I was 20, and that's kind of how the whole journey started.
Beautiful. Okay. So 20 years old. I mean, gosh, you beat me. I was 23 when I got my real estate license. So what made you get into real estate?
It was kind of a crazy story. I knew this agent I was 20, he was like a little bit older than me. He was like 27, and he was doing really well. And he kind of influenced me to, explore it as an option. And at the time I was working as a server at the Shade in Manhattan Beach, just trying to get by. And as I was thinking about actually pulling the trigger on going to the school, this guy, Karthik, sat down at my table. He runs like the Audi schools, and asked me what I was thinking about doing. And I told him real estate, and he started laughing. And, I thought he was kind of an ass. And then at the end of his dinner, he came up to me. He's like, look, I didn't want to seem like I was selling you anything, but I have a class here at the Point at the KW Beach City's office that used to be in Hermosa, when it was over there in Hermosa.
Right.
And you can come check it out for free this week and see if it, makes sense for you. And it just kind of seemed like a sign from the universe, or, one of those things.
Beautiful. Okay. And so that started the path of your real estate career.
It did. And it started at Keller Williams. Now I'm back at Keller Williams, went to a few other places in between that time, but yeah.
So how did you transition, and what got you into curiosity of commercial? Because that's what you do now.
Yeah. So I had some success selling houses. I think my first year I did 7 transactions when I was like 21, and then did a little more my second year. And then I sold my first apartment building, and I was starting to realize that residential wasn't quite tailored to my skill set. I'm not great at taking on a lot of, the high emotional stuff that comes along with that side of the business. And sold my first apartment building, and it was a 4-plex in South Redondo. And that just kind of sparked this idea of like, wow, I think between my assets and liabilities, I'd probably fit more into this side of the business.
Okay, awesome. So you do what type of commercial do you do?
So at this stage of my career, doing a lot of larger apartment communities, working on some hotels, done a little bit of self-storage, but the majority of the sales I've done have been multifamily.
Very cool. So going back to, you started with KW, you tried the residential, and you just felt that it was not a good fit. And then that transition, let me dive into commercial. So how was that in the very beginning for you?
It's actually like the worst chapter of my life ever. I had like a bunch of things fall to escrow, was not doing great financially at that point. Dad passed away, and then I got nearly paralyzed, and I was in a wheelchair for 3 months, going to the office in a wheelchair. This was like my first few months of moving into commercial real estate. And it was really challenging to kind of keep my faith alive in this whole dream that I had. But I somehow pulled through that and started to heal. And then, by the end of the first year, did about 200,000 in GCI and commercial. And I knew I made the right choice, but it was not easy.
Yeah, it's never easy. Wow. To go through all that, it's like an emotional roller coaster and just trying to find yourself. So, thank you so much for sharing, Ryan. So now we're in the trenches in commercial. Let's talk about 2020, because 2020 during the COVID year, it was challenging through commercial. How did you tackle that? And, tell us a little bit of the obstacles or, the avenues and how you were able to go through the trenches in 2020.
Yeah. So, a lot of these type of meetings on the computer, obviously. And luckily with commercial, I wouldn't say there is less, but a lot of it is from your computer and your phone. And then the only time you're really meeting with people is to get things signed or if there's something really important, but a lot of, it wasn't a whole lot of face-to-face interaction, which was fine. And I ended up working in one of my bigger clients' offices. And we were doing a lot of deals that year. So he's an older guy. He owns like 500 units in the South Bay. And we've done a lot of transactions with him. So we were just kind of in the office with him, just doing exchanges. And, I think that in 2020, I think we did a little over 40 million in sales. And then it was definitely a weird time, but even I knew in residential too, like the market was hotter than ever. So, I feel like it could always be an opportunity to say like, this is going to limit me but it's not true, and then I know a lot of people who took advantage of that period of time and just worked because there was nothing else to do and made a lot of money. So.
Absolutely. You said something that resonated with me is, you stay in the trenches, you just go to work. And the people that stayed in work, didn't make excuses in 2020, ultimately overcame, whatever challenges we had then, right? And some of the agents, made a lot of money during that time. So good for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, let's transition a little bit now. You're in the commercial realm. You've got your feet wet. How did you get the dynamics of partnering up with Mason and starting this phenomenal team you have now currently?
Great question. So Mason and I were really good friends before any of the real estate stuff, and we were living together. And he was working, at a restaurant, was thinking about going back to college. And then he would just see me go out door knocking all day, like, and was like, didn't look that appealing to him. And then one day I came home with like a $50,000 check and he was like, forget school. I'm getting my license. I'm going to come work with you. And like, it just kind of shifted the whole thing. And then we shook hands at the beginning that no matter what, we'll split everything 50-50. And that's all it's really took.
It's funny, Ryan. It kind of reminds me of that movie, The Wolf of Wall Street.
Absolutely. It was just like that. If you're
Show me the check and I will quit right now.
It was just like that, man. It was a funny
Holy moly, that is funny. All right. Yeah, I love Mason. He's awesome.
Yeah.
So how did you start building momentum and started to bring, the phenomenal team members that you currently have?
So last year was a big transition for us. I mean, we ended up clearing a little over 150 million in sales last year. And we were
wait. What did you say? How much?
Last year, we did a little over 150 million in sales volume.
Congratulations, my man.
Thank you. Wow. And we were also managing like a 500 unit portfolio on top of that. So like, it was too chaotic. So we ended up like kind of dissolving our management side of things. And from there, there was a lot of people we knew who wanted to start working with us, but we didn't have the time. And, we decided it was in our best interest to start bringing on, junior agents and start mentoring and giving it back. Because when you do that, it always just reflects back, and it's been a really rewarding side of things for us so far. So we have 3 more people joining us in the next 2 months. And then I think we're going to stop at 10 junior agents and then just start hiring more cold callers and administrative sort of staff.
Right. Beautiful. Commercial is a different animal, different type of way of looking at things, right? Complexity, contracts are a lot different. But tell us what your day-to-day looks like. I know you're consistently in the office. I see you constantly walking, but you're on the phone. So tell us how your day looks like as a commercial agent.
So my focus is on getting more and more into like institutional assets. And a lot of the times that means you're kind of talking and schmoozing with all these people who work within this big company and trying to kind of work your way through the chain of command within the institutions. And everything in commercial real estate is 99% of the time going to be a 1031 exchange. So a lot of the times you're kind of playing Cupid with these deals, where it's like, hey, I could bring you this price over here. We could move that equity, and I got this deal over here off market, and and then that guy needs to sell and go buy something. So it's always just like kind of just a video game is how I kind of treat it. So I'm always on the phone, always following up with past clients. We started doing MAPS coaching, which if there's anyone on the call who feels like maybe they've reached a plateau with where they're at, highly recommend. So our coach is Alicia Shepard, who's the director of KW commercial for like the whole country and coaches a lot of top producing agents. And that's forcing me to get out of my comfort zone in a big way. She has her systems completely dialed in, calendar, everything is just like to like a second. So we're really trying to adopt that. And we're doing a program called $1 million in commission in 90 days. And it's pretty self-explanatory what we're trying to do there. We're on our way to reaching the goals. So that's working out really well, and just a big change of mindset.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's all about the mindset. It's the attitude, right? And definitely having someone that's pushing you, holding you accountable, and just being that ear right there saying, hey, what does your daily activities look like, right? Because if you want to make the money you want in real estate, it's very tangible to do so, but you have to also, it's what we call the give and take, right? You also have to contribute and have some skin in the game as well. So that's awesome. Well, good deal. So in regards to your daily, what are you telling your agents to do? Are you pressing upon, the junior agents to do their daily activities? Because I see them in here constantly on the computer, on the call. So what does that look like from a perspective, someone that wants to get into commercial and, learning the process, but more so understanding what that looks like on a regular basis?
Yeah. So, we're definitely influencing all of our agents who are newer to be on the phone, making calls for at least 4 hours a day. Because at that point, when you don't have any business, there's not much else to do, to be honest. I mean, you can do a lot of research and, kind of trick yourself into thinking you're doing dollar productive activities, but you're really not. I know that I've struggled with that, throughout my real estate career. I'll think I'm doing something that is, dollar productive. And then I look back and I'm like, I really could have been doing way more dollar productive activities, so we're influencing them to be on the phones, and we have like a little contest going on where whoever does the most sales in Q1 is going to get like a really cool gift. So I mean, we're trying to make it fun and competitive, and we have everything tracked, where it shows how many calls everyone's making, how many contacts they're making, how many appointments they're setting, how many offers they're setting out. Like everything's being tracked. So beautiful.
So you're saying to me, Ryan, is just because you have a real estate license, business is not going your way?
No, that's not how this works. I swear a lot of it is you make the most money doing the most inconvenient, annoying things that sound like it does. That's, I'm not going to make any money, cold calling people, or I'm not going to, if you're in residential, I'm not going to make any money door knocking. But like, that's how I started. I was just door knocking 4 hours a day in West Torrance, and got my first listing through doing that, like $800,000 house over there by West High School. So, I mean, it works. I know it seems crazy, but it's like going to the gym. Like, you're not going to look amazing your first day in the gym. You gotta go consistently for like 6 months.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, being consistent, and leadership always, preaches upon that with the agents. You got to be consistent on your daily activities that lead you to the opportunities that lead you to revenue and income. So I love that. It's so true. Real estate is definitely something that is very, very lucrative, but if you're willing to put the time, effort, and energy, and you're going to have those challenges and those obstacles. So leaning into that, what has been the most difficult, the most difficult process or task or experience in your career?
Most difficult task or experience. Even to this day, the most difficult task for me to do is to block my time and get on the phone. I don't think it ever gets easier. I mean, it does in the sense where some of the calls are more warm now than they were just completely cold. And I have a reputation, and I have a lot of past sales to kind of back up my pitch and stuff like that. So it does get easier in that sense, but like still the exercise of actually like getting my list ready and getting on the phone is still just as challenging as it ever was. In fact, I think after you start to have some success, it gets even harder because you're like, I don't need to do that stuff. I can just, kind of focus on what I got in my pipeline and this and that. But Alicia's really been coaching me on changing that mentality to just kind of always be putting more and more things in the fire, So there's that. And then the most difficult event, that's a hard question. I think when the city, or when California passed the statewide rent control, I had like $50 million worth of deals in escrow, and it canceled everything. So that was like heartbreaking because it was something completely outside of my control, but within the political sphere, and affected my business really negatively. And that was my first year too. So I still did pretty well, but I thought I was going to crush it year one, and it kind of just was disappointing.
Yeah. Well, and I'm always talking to the agents, you're going to have some good days, you're going to have some bad days, you're going to have some challenging, you're going to have frustration. You may even get a little upset sometimes, but it's all about your attitude at the very end. You can take something that's negative, right, and be involved in the negativity, or you can make the negativity into a positive, right? It's all about your attitude. You got to think outside the box, and more so as a commercial agent, because the dynamics, there's really no emotional aspect in commercial. It's all calculations. It's number driven. And if it makes sense, people will buy it for that purpose, right? Not necessarily because it's a pretty apartment unit, right? It's more, is this an investment that makes sense, and is it building opportunities for cash flow, right? So it's all calculations, and that's important as a commercial agent, understanding the ins and outs of analyzing opportunities, right? So is that something that you do, or is that something that you leverage to someone to do for you and then present it to the client?
So the way Mason and I kind of work is Mason's much more extroverted than I am. I'm very introverted and more analytical. And when it comes to like contract law and all that, like I love that stuff, believe it or not. That's what I enjoy. So Mason's kind of more the front guy who's out there, shaking hands and doing a lot more of the relationship management. And then when it comes to analytics and data, driven sort of tasks. I'd say I more take the lead on that side, and like just strategy and contract law and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
there's that. And, I know you mentioned that it's very, not very emotional, but what I've also learned is it is, like some of these guys, like this, we sold that 105 unit building on the Esplanade in Redondo Beach last year. And, I knew my client had told me that like he had always dreamed of one day owning a big building on the Esplanade. So like, that's a very emotional thing for that guy. And that selling that vision to him allowed him to sell, one of his other larger buildings that he told us he would never sell. But, based off of that emotion of wanting this dream of owning this big building and, on the Esplanade, it drove the sale forward. So it's just a lot of these really big investors have big egos. So a lot of it's ego navigation, but there is some emotional things to that too. But yeah, that's sort of it.
Very cool. So what does 2023 look like for you and Mason?
So the climate is a little weird, and I don't know if anyone has read the Shift book, but I think we're definitely headed into a different market, and it's an opportunity where people who really dive deep right now and dig in, I think are gonna gain huge market share. And it's going to take a little bit more creativity and so on and so forth. But our goal is to pretty lofty, but I think our goal is to get to 500 million in sales this year, and grow our team to 20 people. We want to start exploring kind of getting an expansion network thing going on in different parts of California and maybe Florida. And we want to syndicate our first 3 deals where we have some ownership. And then Mason and I also want to buy our first apartment building that we own and start building our cash flow.
Love that. Yeah, that's awesome. That's a big bucket list of things for 2023.
I look at it every morning. That's my first thing I look at when I get to the office. I have it right on my wall. So,
well, and that's important, right? To visualize it on a daily basis. I have my computer, and then as soon as I open it up or don't use my computer, my goals for this year, and it has my personal and also my business goals and leadership in front of me. So it's a reminder, the importance of having that. So it's constantly telling me, Simon, this is what you need to hit on a consistent basis, right? And that's important for all of us on the call, right? Awesome. So yeah, I mean, 500 million it's a big, and I know with the attitude that you and your partner have, it's very tangible, so we're going to be there supporting you, being the cheerleader, and helping you with that. Also, you're going to be one of the guest speakers at Family Reunion. Is that correct?
Yeah, I just got asked to do that this week actually, and I also got asked to speak at the top producer panel at the South Bay Association next Tuesday at 9 a.m. So if anyone wants to go check that out, I would appreciate any support. And yeah, the family reunion thing is a big opportunity for us. I think there's gonna be a lot of people there. So.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think they're projecting to have about 12,000 plus.
Speaking in front of 12,000 people.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations to you and to the team. Keep up the good work. You're definitely a support. And the importance of showing up, right? That's something that I constantly have to remind myself is, you may have a good day, you may have a bad day, but just show up. Let the day iron out itself. And I think that's the attitude that you and Mason have. And this is why you're doing some phenomenal things out there. So, and it shows, it resonates. But more so, it gives you the ability and the opportunity to connect with people, right? And more so, the personal goals, right, of owning an apartment complex as well, and it's very tangible if you visualize it and see it. One other thing I wanted to also ask you, and it was on top of my head, Ryan, uh, the specific forms. Do you, as a commercial agent, use air forms, or do you use the zip forms?
S- Neither really, unless it, like, if we're working on a smaller transaction, sometimes we'll just do like a zip forms contract, but 9 times out of 10, it goes to from LOI to PSA. And then a lot of the times, like, oh man, you're dealing with like corporate lawyers and all these people that are just deal killers. So you have to learn how to cooperate with the attorneys and like make sure everything's kind of, because they don't understand the sales process. They get hung up on,
Right.
it's not, and they don't care because they're getting billable hours. So it's really frustrating, honestly. It's like one of my least favorite things is dealing with attorneys. But yeah, once the PSA is signed, it's essentially just a fancy, longer car form. Like the last one that we did was like 140 pages or something like that. And had to go through it kind of like line by line with my client. He had never done a transaction that way. So it was very difficult. But yeah, to answer your question, if it's a larger deal, it usually is like a letters of intent to a purchase and sale agreement that's drafted by a law group. And then for the smaller stuff, we'll like 2 to 10 units, we'll usually do like a zip forms thing. And then we don't do much leasing, but we would use AIR forms if we were doing like a commercial lease, but we're trying to get away from doing that stuff.
Got it. Do you and the team do any out of state transactions or deals as a commercial agent?
Yeah, and we're connected to a handful. We went to the commercial summit in Austin, and we got connected to a lot of top producing agents in different states. So there's so much that goes into understanding the metrics of like a specific market, though, where if I'm honest with myself, like I don't feel great advising somebody what to go do out of state, especially if I've never been there, like, and I don't have the time to go study the market to give great answers. So I'll usually refer it to an agent who has a big market share in the area. I'd rather get 30% and not have to do much than go try and start from scratch and learn a whole new city. It's just, I'm not really interested in that.
Yeah. And the reason I say that, Ryan, is because I do see a lot of commercial agents tap into other states. They connect with agents from that state that are licensed, and they work deals. And it's very common in the commercial realm. So
yeah, we have done it, and like there's been times where like we wanted to manage the whole transaction, so we asked some agent in a different state, like, hey, we'll pay you $5,000 to just provide us with forms. And 9 times out of 10, they're like, okay, whatever, let's make $5,000 and send these guys some documents. It's a pretty fair exchange. So
yeah, very cool. So we're in the trenches, first quarter of 2023. You got your team in alignment. Do you do any type of any type of residential, or it's just strictly do you do any type of residential or strictly commercial?
for me, strictly commercial at this point. And if I did have a residential client, I would refer to someone who's referred me business. I like to have two-way street sort of relationships. So yeah, I would probably pass it on, to be honest. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, it's around that time, Ryan. I'm going to open up for anyone on the calls, and thank you again for being here with us. Anyone have any specific questions or anything they'd like to ask with Ryan? This is the opportunity to do so.
Good morning, Ryan. This is Posh. How you doing?
Good,
I had a question. I'm actually been in multifamily for maybe less than a year. So my question is, should I focus more on buyers or should I focus more on sellers in my first year of multifamily?
Great question. So ultimately, everyone's end goal wants to be being a premier listing agent, but that isn't very easy to do when you're getting started. So what I learned and what really worked well for me was starting off with buyers, because once you understand the mechanics of a 1031 exchange, like if you bring someone a great offer for a property, they're going to want to sell it, and then you can kind of get on both sides of that. So I don't think it's a bad idea, but I also would try to stay away from the limiting belief that these people won't sell
Right.
with me or won't list with me. It's like, if you provide value and you deliver results, like you're not excluded from that. So I would just that's sort of the answer. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the answer to my question. Thank you, appreciate that, and nice meeting you.
You as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Posh. Anyone else have any questions for Ryan? Cool. All right. Well, Ryan, appreciate you, my man. Thank you so much for taking time from your daily schedule to jump on this call. Great information. And, it's just awesome to see someone at your caliber, so young, in influence in the commercial realm. So thank you again, Ryan, for doing this for us. And, if you have any questions, Ryan can be found here at the KW South Bay office. He can help answer any of your questions, his team as well. So again, Ryan, thank you, my man. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, team. Well, that concludes. Appreciate you all. Have a phenomenal Friday. Enjoy, be safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you on our next call. Thanks again.
Thanks, man.